Hello everyone, this is Arthur again. Today we're gonna take a look at this 2012 Rolls-Royce Ghost oil pan replacement. I will make a separate video on this car showing it off, but as far as for this video, I'm just gonna talk about some of the important bits of the upper oil pan replacement job on the 760li as well as the Ghost, since I didn't really see any videos about it. I know most people are probably not gonna do this themselves on their V12 BMW or Rolls-Royce, but just out of curiosity, it might be interesting for some of you to watch it. So let me go through a little bit what it takes to do this. First of all, these cars are very common to have an oil leak from the upper oil pan, typically developed around 35-40,000 miles. This car has 82,000 miles, and it most likely had it done once prior, but right now it's leaking again. So this is the lower oil pan, this is the upper one. I cleaned it up already. I'm getting ready to put it back in. Here are some of the parts that will be needed. Here are some of the older O-rings that are removed. The oil pump has to be removed as well as the pickup tube and this valve. And you will need all this new hardware. Here's the part numbers. You will need 50 bolts for the oil pan along, these short ones, and as well as 5 of these longer ones. This is the part number for them. They all come already pre-soaked in a thread sealer, so you don't need to worry about that. And then here is the part number for some of the O-rings, some of the part numbers. The good thing is you can purchase the parts from the BMW. Most things, pretty much everything is 760li parts, although this engine is slightly larger. It's a 6.6. 760 is a 6-liter, I believe, but as far as the bottom end oil pan parts go, it doesn't matter so much. So first of all, the subframe has to be lowered, and this is most likely one of the most complicated subframes I've had to lower yet, just because of so many piping and hoses that go along with it. They have to be disconnected and loosened so they won't pull on them. And you know exactly, I can't tell you how many bolts there are to remove, but there are 6 that hold the subframe up itself, but there are many little 10mm nuts like this that hold all these pipes down with this kind of rubber grommets, and you're gonna have to take all of them out to be able to drop the subframe at the level where it will give you enough access to lower the oil pan. And you're gonna have to make sure you have a good support for the engine. I have a bar on top, and I have 2 jacks on the bottom just in case if one of them goes out. And as far as the upper oil pan goes, there are 4 bolts from the transmission side that bolt onto the upper oil pan. Then there are 4 bolts that go upwards towards over here. They go from here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the longer bolts. And then there are about 29 other short ones. They go all the perimeter around, in and out of the oil pan. Let me show you on the oil pan itself, because some of them are actually very tricky to see. This lower one, it does have, I believe, 21 bolts. And this one's pretty straightforward, it just pulls out. Gotta make sure you put a new oil level sensor seal. And this other one, the oil pump is in the way, so you can't get it out unless you unscrew the oil pump, which has 2 13mm nuts and 1 either T40 or T45 bolt. But then also you have a gear here that goes on the little chain that drives the pump, and that one has 3 10mm bolts behind it. You're gonna have to unscrew. You also have to turn the engine slightly to access those bolts to be able to remove it. There are also 2 pipes that come along with it. This one that has an O-ring needs to be replaced, and also there's a feather pipe over here that has 2 O-rings that need to be replaced. The part numbers are over there if you can find a diagram online to it, and those are very important to replace. Also clean up the pickup tube, as this one had some debris inside. Nothing major, but it needs to be cleaned once removed. So as far as upper oil pan goes, there's a lot of bolts, so you have to make sure you see all of them and you remove all of them when it goes all around. However, there's a couple of hidden ones. There's 2 of them in the oil filter area once you remove it, and then there's one that I also had an issue with, because I could see the pan is loose but it wouldn't come out. There's this big nut over here that has a Allen head, and it's some kind of a valve, pressure valve or something for the oil filter. Once you pull that one off, there's actually one more E12 hiding under it, and once I had that out, it actually came out pretty easily, more or less, once the pump was pulled out. Now let's look at some of the gaskets. It's also gonna get a new belt, since the belt on it had some cracks. And here's the lower gasket. The port number for it. And then here's the upper one. Same as 760 gasket. These are metal gaskets. Here's the part number. Also, there's 4 spots where you have to apply a sealant, where the black meets the covers, front and rear. You see the little cracks there. And then you have all the trouble of putting everything back on, which I haven't done yet, but I should be doing next day or 2. Other than that, it's doable if you have the right tools, of course, but you have to be extra careful with everything, since parts are availability and costs are significantly higher than other cars, even with some parts being interchangeable with BMW. They're still not stuck in most of the parts, as it's a rare engine, and you will have to wait a day or 2 to get parts in most cases. As far as the amount of time that goes into this work, I would say it's around 25 hours or so. If you're pretty experienced, you can probably knock it off. We're also going to replace the wheel bearings on these cars in the front, as they're noisy. One was replaced prior, but it's still making noise, is because they use some kind of aftermarket cheap part. And we're gonna go with the OEM one, which is actually the same one that comes on F10s and F11s, front rear-wheel drive, a 650 or a 550. They're interchange. And then let me show you also the motor mounts. They were going to put new ones. So these are the new ones with BMW part numbers. They're about 150 each or so. This is the passenger side. That was still okay, actually. And then the driver's side one is non-existent. You can tell this pad has been smooshed by the big V12. Also, another interesting part on this engine, which I was surprised and I actually didn't know about, that the turbos are actually on the side. They are not like the N63 that are in the middle. It's not a hot V configuration, which is, to me, it was actually a nice surprise. Sorry about that. Again, it kind of has the Mercedes V12 setup, which is I think a good thing. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this video was informative for you and interesting to watch. There's not too many videos about these cars out. In-depth look at repairs, large repairs at least. So hopefully you'll give me a subscribe, like and comment. Thank you for watching. A full review of this car will be coming soon.